performance.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Respected Dr. Marco, respect Dr. Anand Kumar Dhanasekaran, respected guides, respect doctors, dear scholars. I'm really very much happy to welcome all of you for this webinar on the cloud versus racing track by the Marco Trapp. So Marco Trapp has been kind enough and he has given 3 or 4 lectures already. Now he is helping us continuously. I'm really very much happy to welcome Marco Trapp on this occasion, and Dr. Ananda Kumar Dhanasekaran has been helping us and translating and simplifying the things and also assisting all the scholars. I'm very much happy to welcome Dr. Ananda Kumar Dhanasekaran also. Marco Trapp as a Chief Executive Officer, the Trans-European Stem Cell Therapy Society, Social Lab. We are very much happy to welcome Dr. Marco. And I feel that this lecture will be much useful to the students, particularly the scholars and the guides also. And I expect Dr. Anand Kumar also to remain here and help us at the end also. So with that, I'm really very much happy to welcome Marco, Anand Kumar, all the guides and the doctors and the scholars on this occasion. Really, we are all very much fortunate to have such wonderful lectures from the eminent scholars. They're all practicing in their own way and giving a lot of things to the society through their research. So I'm very much happy to welcome again Dr. Marco, Anand Kumar, all the guides and scholars. Thank you very much. வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you, Aya. A short intro of our Dr. Marco to the audience. I request PhD scholar Hema Devi to do it.
So, hello, good morning from my time. I have really short time because as the next past weeks I'm working as an expert for the European Commission in Brussels, and so my time is a bit limited. So today I would like to give an introduction into a part of chemistry where we have started last week, and where we have to go more deeply than in the next sessions. So I'm just giving you an introduction, a very brief introduction, as my title says, from cloud to racetrack means, or from racetrack to cloud is a synonym from orbital, or from the Bohr model to evolve to the orbital model, which is based on quantum physics. And I just have to start my presentation to share my screen. One moment, please. Up. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Yes, sir, please proceed.
Okay, good. As you know, so one moment, please. So this is my title, Cloud versus Racing Track, and as you know, when you track a car on the racing track, it's a very simple function, mathematical function. So it's way and time, and by this function you can estimate where the racing car is on the track at each time and with exact location. Okay, so And in the following, I will try to just to give a very brief introduction how it works with atoms. Again, I know it's explained in German, but anyhow, the figures are very clear, and this is where we are moving now. We are moving around the atoms and subatomic particles, and in the following months, we will work all through this these levels. So that means we're starting with materia, with the basic materia. You understand what is chemical bonding and how chemical bonding is getting into complex structures, such as chromosomes or DNA, and from there to complex organisms. Okay. So I just relate to my last introduction. So yeah, it was stated by my colleagues that this is a simple chemistry. Chemistry compared to physics is simple, just to compare it, when you compare it. And the so-called Bohr model is one of the really basics model explaining chemical bonding for the main group elements in a very concise or precise way. But if you go into the on the next level chemistry, then you have to leave this kind of model and to move on into the direction of quantum physics as a base for next level, the so-called orbital models. And this I try to explain. Oh, there's a little phantom. Okay. As you can see here in the Bohr model, you have distinct shells or orbitals, and you have to understand these shells as energy levels. And in physics, energy is clearly defined as a probability to carry out work. It's very simple, you know, that's simple mechanics. And the first shell can carry a maximum of 2 electrons. And the reason for this is that the first energy level is the lowest energy level, and that both electrons have from their energy level, or only 2 electrons really can move freely on this first shell. And so each next shell can carry up to a maximum of 8 electrons. And again, you're looking for energy levels. And this model also can easily explain the photoelectric effect, which was first revealed and explained by Albert Einstein, and for this he got the Nobel Prize. Okay, not for relativity theory, as I mentioned before. If you put energy on the electrons or force on the electrons, they can move in between the shells. And if they are moving in between the shells on different energy levels, they can also release energy, for example, as light. So electrons can be activated, they can move in between the shells when they are forced, and if they are moving back into their lowest energy level as possible, because they are lazy, they want to be really on the lowest energy level, they can emit, for example, this energy difference in form of light. So that's a very simplified way to explain the photoelectric effect of Albert Einstein. Okay. So here, this is, I'm repeating from last week. Again, you see the shells, different energy levels. And for the main group elements, it's very clear that the maximum occupancy from the second shell on is a maximum of 8 electrons. And this is the most energetic, stable level then for the atom. Okay, and this is also a reason because we explain chemical bonding by overlapping and sharing these shells and sharing the electrons, so that both atoms finally, because they share electrons, they can have this 8 electrons maximum in the shell, and so they are happy because that's the most lowest energetic level they can stay, and this is something which is their specific aim. Okay. So that's a very simple, explanations based on the Bohr model and on classical physics. Okay. Well, this we know. Again, this is also a repetition of last time. Here you see 3 different kinds of chemical bonding, so-called ionic bond. So it's metal with non-metal. So it's, here you have covalent bonds. This is oxygen with 2 hydrogen atoms forming water molecules. And here you have the metallic bonds with a very structured building block where you have very clearly defined the position of the atoms, and in between, oh, this is not good, and in between you have the electrons which can move freely and which are explaining the properties of metallic metals. That means that metals are able to conduct heat and electricity, and this is all explained by electrons moving. So very simple. Okay. So then we go now to the next level. The first step is to stop thinking electrons are being very small balls that orbit around the nucleus in a circular path, like designed or displayed here, which is known for the Bohr model. Despite this model being an excellent model at an introductory level, it doesn't tell the entire story. So wrong. Yeah, okay. So there are several issues with the notion that electrons travel in a circular orbit around the nucleus, the main one being that they should eventually undergo orbital decay and hence eventually slow down and crash into the nucleus. Of course, this doesn't happen. So how do electrons move around the nucleus? So it's not only that the electrons are moving around the nucleus, which is based on neutrons and protons. The point is that the electrons are not, because they have negative charge, you would expect that they are pulled in by the positive charge of the proton. That it doesn't happen. It's a more complex story, which we'll talk also later of, which is explained by electron spin, so that it doesn't happen. But let's go on. So now we are at the point where quantum theory came in to rescue the early 20th century. So this over-exaggeration of words, but anyhow, it stated that electrons could not be treated as a classical particle and did not have a definite position and momentum. So this basically means we can't exactly know an electron's position and its momentum at the same time. So, and this was developed, this theory by Heisenberg, and this is so-called uncertainty principle, as I have been talking before. So quantum theory tells us that we actually can't specify where and what a path an electron is going to take. And the Bohr model assumes that you can precisely plot out where an electron is going to be, but we know that to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, you can't precisely know the exact position and momentum of the electron. So we cannot construct an orbit and say the electron is always going to follow the path. So this is really too simple story. Question, if you don't know where the electron is going to be next, there's no way you can predict its path. This is something Albert Einstein had problems to deal with this. With statistics. So how we can, so no, we cannot go around in on problems, but anyhow we can try to find suitable explanations and scientifically prove them as much as possible. So if we can't draw the orbit for an electron, the next best thing we can do is to plot an electron density probability orbital for it, also known as atomic orbitals. Orbital is a well-defined region of space. Therefore, an atomic orbital is a region of space that shows where the electron will be 95% of the time. Okay. So then we're talking about the cloud versus the racetrack. So Bohr was on the racetrack and Heisenberg left the racetrack to the next level, to the cloud level. Okay. Simple way of thinking of orbitals is that imagine that you have a magic camera that can take a sequence of photos of an electron in a hydrogen atom. The atom and the electron appears as a dot. Now, if we superimpose all these images, you see this kind of image. Since we generally take atomic orbitals to be the region of space that shows where the electron will be 95% of the time, the very outer sphere of the above image is said to be the orbital of the electron. Okay. Okay. Again, the definition for atomic orbital. Atomic orbitals are three-dimensional mathematical expressions that describe the most likely location of an electron in an atom. And we distinguish different types of orbitals. I will not go into depths of this today. There's no time for this, so we go over this the next time. You distinguish so-called 1s, 2p, 3d, and 4f orbitals and suborbitals, especially s, p, d, and f, denotes the orbital shape. So each orbital can only accommodate 2 electrons due to their spin. So that means an orbital can accommodate 2 electrons. And there's also the Pauli rule, which I have not outlined here, which says that electrons have an anti-spin. So that means that 2 electrons on one orbital or suborbital can have to have a so-called anti-spins. As the energy levels increase, the electrons are located further from the nucleus, making the orbitals bigger. The number of orbitals that each subshell can accommodate depends on the values of magnetic quantum number. So I will not go into this now. Just a brief definition of 2 orbital types. The s orbital is a spherical space encircles the nucleus. It's spherically symmetrical, equal property of finding electrons in all directions. The size of the orbital increases with the increase in principal quantum number. P orbital, one moment. As we move from the first energy level, there's another orbital called p orbital. It looks like 2 lobes or balloons, looks very funny, tied at the nucleus, giving a dump bell shape. Electrons can be found in either 2 of the 2 lobes. Okay. Thus, every subshell can accommodate 3 p orbitals. So, anyhow, of the statistics, there are clear rules. So depending on how the lobes lie along the x, y, or z theta axis, they are designated as 2px, 2py, and 2pz. The axes of these 3 p orbitals are mutually perpendicular, similar to s orbital. The size of p orbital increases with an increase in the principal quantum number. Okay. So s orbital is spherical, and there you see suborbital and the shape, which can be dependent on the occupancy or the number of electrons, quite complex. Okay. Here again, which is very much important. So you have here the energy level or value. And if 2 s orbitals overlay, you get a bonding, orbital bonding. And this is a figure of the orbital bonding. It looks like a sausage. Okay. Good. Okay. So I'm finished with this. My idea was to show video, but I was not able to activate this. So many thanks to the audience, and race driving is something I like very much, as you can see here. And from that point of view, it was for me just simple to compare orbitals with racetracks. Okay, thank you very much to the audience.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request Dr. Ananda to summarize the session.
Thank you, Amma. வாழ்க வளமுடன். Today's Marco's presentation is almost keeping up with what we heard for the past few weeks. So today he has taken us further, explaining how the electrons can be located in the orbits. Again, we have revised to see that the orbits are from inner to outer, like 2 electrons and 8 electrons, for example. And further, he has given us the new concepts that there is not necessary that the electron should be in that particular orbit. It can go around a little bit away from the actual circle of the orbit. And the orbit is decided based upon the high chance of the electrons to be located in that particular place. That's why if you take the first 2 electrons of, say, for example, helium, 95% they will be within that first orbit. But 5% they can go even to the higher orbit levels, or they can even go through the nucleus. There are some studies which showed that the electrons could be anywhere. The other important message is when the electrons are getting transferred from the innermost orbit to the higher orbit, there is an increase in the energy. So the energy is taken by the electron to move from the innermost orbit to the outer orbit. The other thing, he has nicely demonstrated how the bonding between 2 atoms can happen by transfer of electron from one atom to another, making both the atoms stable with 8 electrons in the outermost shell, or by sharing the electrons between the 2 atoms. This is where I was able to correlate and apply it with organic and inorganic. So the organic or the materials like, for example, carbon, methane, all the tissue-based, plant-based living tissues where the electrons are mostly shared. Even in the organic tissues, we have potassium chloride, hydrogen chloride type of inorganic material in it, but mostly it is shared rather than the electrons are transferred from one atom to another atom. While the solid material, like for example, iron bar, iron oxide, iron sulfate, aluminum chloride, chemicals, and the things what we use in our house, like a iron chair, those things are inorganic, and inorganic things, they literally transfer the electron from one atom to another, resulting in equivalent bond. We have discussed this equivalent bond and covalent bond. Covalent bond belongs to organics, while equivalent bond belongs to inorganics. If you want to apply the Marco's today's teachings in our understanding, if there is a transfer of electron from one atom to another atom, both atoms become stable. That's it. Once both atoms become stable, the atoms will try not to communicate, because the principle is all the atoms, all the Atma, all the soul, all the living beings, all the universe, planets, everything try to become stable. That is the ultimate aim. The aim for meditation is to make our mind calm and become much more stable. Stability is the most important thing. When I think about something, when I act on it, when I do a job, when I start cooking, when I take a bath, when I eat, that is unstable. When I stop doing those things, sit in a place with appropriate posture, without mind deviation, as Patanjali said, Chitta Virutti Nirodhana. So we are stopping the expansion of our thoughts. Then it becomes stable. Once things become stable, they are more calm and more long-lasting. That's why people who are able to attain a stable meditative state, maybe for few minutes, if not few hours, they will have much more longer, healthy, happy life without any disease. The same thing, we can take it even to the atoms. So when the atoms become stable, they literally are happy to stay undisturbed because there is nothing they need further. So as we discussed the last class example of, say, for example, sodium chloride, when sodium gives one electron to chloride and becomes NaCl, sodium chloride, the common table salt we use in our cooking, in our food, the sodium chloride is stable. So if you leave a kind of a box of sodium chloride, go for a holiday, come after 1 month, come after 2 months, come after 1 year, it will be there. The only way sodium chloride can get destroyed is by coming in contact with water where it can get dissolved. So that's an entirely different mechanism. Even when sodium chloride dissolves in water, it is still sodium chloride, but it is in a dissolved state. But when you take the covalent bonds, as happening in our human body or plant or any organic bodies, the electrons were not transferred from one atom to another. As nicely mentioned in one of the slides by Marco, the electrons were shared between two atoms. So when carbon is combining with 4 hydrogen atoms, carbon is giving 4 electrons which will be shared by the hydrogen atoms, and that particular shared electron doesn't belong to carbon, doesn't belong to hydrogen alone. It belongs to both the carbon and hydrogen. And since there is a sharing, the atoms are much more cohesive and atoms have to talk to each other. That's where the organic things differ from inorganic things. Say, for example, you are living in your house with a nice fence and boundary. And there is another neighbor who has got his own nice fence and boundary. Within your boundary, you are growing vegetables, you are growing flowers, you have one corner where you are growing, say, for example, livestock like chicken or goat or something. As long as your things are within your fence, your neighbor will not disturb you, vice versa. You won't disturb your neighbor also. But for example, for some reason, the land is divided so that you have your house, your land, your neighbor has his house, his land, but there is a small place with a stream or river running around, which as per the land registry says this has to be shared with both of you. Then what happens? You will communicate with your neighbor. You will say, oh, don't allow your goat to come here. Don't allow your chicken to come here. And similarly, the neighbor will also communicate with you. So the communication happens only if there is something shared between the two properties. Similarly, in a covalent bond, since the electrons were shared between the carbon and hydrogen, say, for example, the communication happens. As we know, I will take it to our own Maharishi's Brahmanyanam. Maharishi very clearly explained that things started as a Parama Anu, which is the energy particle. And yes, Marco, you can leave whenever possible, and thank you for your time. Thanks, Marco. So the Maharishi has explained this Paramanu, and this Paramanu has got biomagnetism. And from the Paramanu, we are getting this Uyirtugalgal, planets, everything. Everybody know our own biomagnetism and Brahmanyanam principles. When this kind of sharing of electrons happens, those products like man, animal, microbes, plants, they have the ability to establish the biomagnetism. As long as the biomagnetism is high, that sharing covalent bond will get strengthened, and that particular plant, animal, insect, virus, bacteria, or a man will become strong and live longer. When there is a problem with biomagnetism, this sharing will get disturbed. So that particular one electron which is shared becomes more towards one atom. That's where the atoms will get destroyed. Anuchidaiv is happening, and that's what results in discontinuity and disease. So why, if you buy a nice chicken or a lamb and grow in your house, you need to spend some time. You need to feed it. You need to make sure it is not getting any disease. And you need to do a lot of things to protect it, because that shared electrons, covalent bond, needs biomagnetism, needs input, needs care. But if you buy a metal chicken or lamb, a doll, a toy in your house, it doesn't require anything. You can just leave it as it is. Of course, the entropy will work. After maybe 3 years or 5 years, the things will get rusted and things will get disintegrate. So the overall spiritual part of Marco's today's presentation is our body works predominantly because of the sharing of the electron atoms. To strengthen that shared electron, you need to make sure that enough biomagnetism is there to keep the cohesiveness. That's where the Kayakalpa comes into play, Nadi Sutti comes into play. So Nadi Sutti helps to get rid of the free radicals, get rid of the material which gives oxidative stress, rejuvenates the body with good fresh oxygen, and all the exercises also helps the joints and muscles in a very nice elastic manner, so that the biomagnetism can pass through. Our Maharishi very nicely mentions pain is due to discontinuity or inability of the biomagnetism to pass through. And தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா வந்து ஒரு இடத்துல வலி இருக்குன்னா அதுக்கு காரணம் ஷார்ட் சர்க்கியூட்னு சொல்லுவார் மகரிஷி. குறுக்கு பாய்மை. அந்த குறுக்கு பாய்மையினால அந்த பயோமேக்னட்டிசம் கான்சென்ட்ரேட் ஒரு இடத்துல ஆகுறதுனால வலி ஏற்படுது. அந்த ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் அந்த இடத்துல நம்ம தேய்ச்சி விடும் பொழுது that short circuited thing is getting nicely spread out and the pain is getting relieved. So we can easily correlate what Marco has very kindly presented, how atoms are structured, how electrons are in their own orbitals, and also how the bonding happens into our spiritual part of it, to understand how Kayakalpa works, how Nadi Sutti and various Sky exercises works. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you, Anna. வாழ்க வளமுடன். So, any questions from the audience? Yeah, I have a doubt. Why the shell start with the naming the letters K, L, M, N? Why is there any reason?
It will be nice if Marco is online. I think he's just stepped out of the meeting. It is like they want to label it with alpha numericals. Alpha means alphabets, numericals means 1, 2, 3, 4. So alpha means A, B, C, D, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So when they are labeling it, usually, historically, if you say Greek or even the Latin, they start with A, like A, B, C, D, or alpha, beta, gamma, theta, like that. The one other way they label it is by kappa, pneuma, like that. So that's why they started with K, L, M, and OP. So its innermost is K, and then as we go out, it becomes L, M, N, O, and there is no big atoms. We don't need more than 3 or 4 alphabets.
Okay, thank you. So the energy level is more, so there cannot be more electrons there in the shell. Am I right, sir?
The electrons in the innermost orbit, if any energy is given, it will get into higher orbit. So the innermost orbit has got only 2 electrons, and if any energy given to that electron, it becomes high energy and it gets into another orbit, outermost orbit. So how we can explain this is, if the electrons are of low energy, the nucleus contains protons and neutrons. Protons are positively charged, neutrons are neutrally charged. So the nucleus in total has got positive charge. The positive charged nucleus can hold electrons which are of low energy easily. It is like holding a dog in a leash. If the dog is like a small Pomeranian or a small puppy, you can hold it with your leash very easy. But if the dog is like a Doberman or very big dog or a horse, you need to hold with the leash very tight. Otherwise, the dog or the horse can literally drag you in and you need to leave it. So the nucleus for any atom, say for example carbon or hydrogen, has got fixed positive charge. So it can hold electrons when they are of low energy. So they can hold the first orbit 2 electrons more comfortably. If the electrons get little bit energy, it goes to one more outer orbit where 8 electrons can stay. And the nucleus control becomes less. When the electrons are going into further out third orbit, again the nucleus is not able to control the electrons more. That's why in any chemical reaction or covalent bond or equivalent bond, only the electrons which are in the outermost orbit will take place in the reaction. The other thing to remember in this is, if the outermost shell has got only 1 electron, that whole atom will get peace by losing the electron, because that outermost orbit 1 electron is incomplete, and by losing the electron all the orbits are nice and complete. It is like having unwanted guests in our house. We may be having 4 or 5 guests in our house, we are all our friends, but one person, somehow you don't want them to be there, you are a bit uncomfortable with them. But once they visit and once they leave the house, then rest of the guests will become more comfortable because they're all stable. It's as similar to that. The other way is, if the outermost one has got, instead of 8 electrons, 7 electrons, there is one space which is missing. So again, that orbit, if it gets 1 electron, it will become more stable. Again, it is like we got like 8 cinema tickets, but only 7 people are there. We will be really waiting for one of our friend to join. We will call A Ravi Variya, A Rama Variya. We will call somebody. If somebody comes, we are happy because we got 8 tickets and all the 8 tickets were full, or at least we'll sell the ticket to somebody who we don't know. Then our heart will becomes our mind will become more calmer. So the calmness comes if the outermost shell, all the electron slots are completely filled. So that's why 2 atoms, if one has 1 extra electron in the last orbit, if one needs an extra electron in the last orbit, they donate and become stable. That's how the sodium chloride, for example, it forms. If both the atoms require 1 electron, that's where the covalent bond comes. So they will share the electron in between them in a common place. So as I said too in the example, that particular part belongs to both the atoms.
Thank you. So when we do meditation, our mind reaches a stable state. And we feel that our energy is increased. So in that state, the energy will be increased. So when the atom reaches a stable state, can we correlate this with this atom also? The energy level is high there, will become high.
Okay. How I can explain is, it's not a very correct way to say that during the meditation, our energy level is increased. I will explain what exactly happens in the meditation. So during the meditation, we sit in a asana. We control our extremities, hands and legs. We don't do any unnecessary movements. We don't hear anything. We close our eyes. There is nothing to smell. There is nothing to taste. So indirectly for that meditation 5 minutes, we don't spend any energy. Walking, talking, moving a hand, tasting, everything requires biomagnetism. மகரிஷி ரொம்ப அழகா சொல்லுவார், ஒரு விஷயத்தை வந்து பார்க்கும் பொழுது நம்மளுடைய கண்ணிலிருந்து ஜீவகாந்தம் போய் அந்த ஒரு மரத்தையோ மனிதனையோ ஒரு பிம்பமா எடுத்து உள்ள கொண்டு வருது. We are spending our biomagnetism to see. So during the meditation, even if it's for 5 minutes or for 15 minutes, we literally save so much of biomagnetism, and our mind thinking also, chitta virutti nirodhana, we are stopping them. So because of that, even the mind saves so much of, medically speaking, ATP, or spiritually speaking, biomagnetism. So much of energy which is unspent saves, and that energy is used to repair any problems in the body, like aging or cancer or any injury, any disease, etc. That's how, because of the meditation, we have excess of energy, which is our own energy, and we are able to use it to treat our ailments, live a very healthy, young, charming life. Apart from this, during the meditation, since we are not doing anything, we are opening up our Turyadidam or Turiya Chakra to the cosmic energy. So the cosmic energy, especially if it's done properly in Brahma Muhurta at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, can literally pour through the top chakras and fill our whole body. So the first way the meditation helps to get the energy is by not spending. The second way, we are opening up the top chakras to get the fresh biomagnetism, which is always in this world, to make us more energyful after the meditation. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Very well. Thank you so much. And now I request Dr. Lal Mohan to give his inputs.
My doubt is actually the essence of the presentation given by Professor Marco is that it's indirectly explaining the pattern, precision, regularity of Maharshi, isn't it? Like, because everything in the universe has got consciousness in non-living things such as metals and non-living, other non-living things. The consciousness works, and that's how this phenomena of bonding and electron movement, etc. occurs. The concept of electron orbitals in the context of atomic structure can be understood through the lens of consciousness and perception. Is that true?
I agree, Lal Mohan sir. In fact, you have given a long chat message. I was about to call you because it's easy to discuss rather than reading the chat message. Yes, you are correct. The Maharishi's pattern precision is there in the atoms, and Maharishi won't say this pattern precision just for atoms. He will say even for universe, orbits of planets, other galaxies, everything has pattern and precision. As I usually say, macrocosm and microcosm, both as pattern and precision. So, அண்டத்தில் இருப்பதுதான் பிண்டத்தில் இருப்பதுன்னு இதுதான் வந்து சொல்றாங்க. So this precision is the one which runs the world. We are not doing anything. We are here just to observe what is around us. We are here just to observe what is happening within us. We are here just to reduce our unnecessary loss of biomagnetism, lead a very meditative work, and when we have to do something, do whatever good to others. The life is very, very simple. As long as we maintain this basicity of the life will be very calm, very pain-free, and very trouble-free without any disease.
As you nicely, thank you very much. As you nicely explained, Dr. Ananda, that when you sit in meditation, the body repairs itself. Because the Maharishi has very clearly said that the pattern, persistent regularity is at non-living, because we have, maybe we can think of our Panchabhutas within the body as a kind of non-living entity living within the body. Whereas we have, by association of all the Panchabhutas, we have our own consciousness, which works in the form of cognition, experience, and discrimination. So when our cognition, experience, and discrimination, in other words, our thought process, our talking, our communication, our activities go haywire, our whole body gets into a kind of a little bit of chaotic conditions. It needs repair. So when you actually reverse that by sitting quietly and allow the cognition, experience, discrimination activity to come to a almost zero level, then the next level of consciousness, that is pattern, persistent regularity, can be automatically repaired, isn't it? That's what.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very nicely said. So once we sit calm, the whole biomagnetism, everything will correct, everything is in place. We are here only to just observe what is happening around us. So as I usually say, it's like two train tracks. You are in a platform. On the platform's left side, there is a train track, which is the body and mind. On the platform's right side, there is a train track, which is consciousness. We have two trains. You can jump into any train you want. If you jump into the train of consciousness, you will understand that you are not this body, you are not this mind, you are the pure consciousness. Your aim is to associate with pure consciousness as much as possible. The best way to associate is by meditation. If you want to sit in meditation for longer, you need proper Kundalini exercises to keep the muscles and joints healthy. And if you want to spend more years and your life in meditation, you need to do the Nadi Sutti to make your body healthy. So all things comes only to help you to associate with consciousness. When we associate consciousness, we will observe what is surrounding us like a drama. That's what the Advaita or Upanishad told us as Maya. On the other hand, if we are jumping into the other train, which is our body and mind, we will think that we are doing it. We are thinking it. I have done so much of good things for my next door neighbor, but he didn't even wish me for the Christmas, for the New Year, or the Pongal. So we think that we are doing it. That's where the conflict comes. That's where the displeasure comes. So everything is happening as per the precision and perfectness. We need to lead as much of yogic work. If somebody comes and knocks your door, do whatever best help you can. This is what is the basis for the world peace also. Thank
you very much. So in a nutshell, everything happens due to the interplay of the consciousness of the universe itself. We are only instruments within that consciousness, isn't it? So if we live with that kind of awareness, life becomes very simple, sweet, and all that, like a music, isn't it? Like a very good harmony can be there, I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once we are in that mode, in that train track, You will observe everything with happiness. Even a problem comes to our life, we know that it is not problem coming to us. Say, for example, if your neighbor is coming to your house asking for a help and saying that, oh, my son have not performed well in the SSLC exam, you will feel sorry for the neighbor, but you will tell nothing to worry. Let him study some more with some tuition center. Let us help him. Let him get into maybe the other opportunities in the life. You will advise him do your best if you really like the neighbor, if you really like the son. But if the same thing happens to our own son or daughter in the family, we will take it very personal. We will take, I've created so much of space for you to read, so much of facilities for you to read. Why you haven't delivered? We'll take it so angry and so displeasureness. Why that happens? Because you think that this is your family, this is your body, this is your mind. So instead of that, give equal importance to everyone. It's very difficult. It's very easy to speak. It's not easy. It's a very, very, very difficult. But that is the only way the sadhus and our own rishis have attained peace. They attained peace by leaving the family, by leaving the parents, by leaving the wife and children, and going into the jungle and praying and considering everyone as equal. Say Ramana Maharishi, after he become the great saint in Tiruvannamalai, when his own mom tried to come to the ashram, at that point in Ramana Maharishi's ashram, there were only men. So even though it's his own mom, he was not very liking to have a woman in the ashram because it is may cause problem. For Ramana Maharishi, it is his mom. But another elderly sadhu in Ramana Maharishi's ashram may not see her as Ramana Maharishi's mom. So things may go wrong. I'm sure everybody can understand what is what. So he was very much hesitant to accept his own mom into the ashram. And he said, there are ashram norms, we need to maintain it only for the men. Only after persuading of lot of his disciplines and other people in the ashram, her mom has got a place. And in fact, her mom has got like a different place to live and spend some time with Ramana Maharishi in the last stages of her life. So to that level, people try to run away from parents or children or world problems. Our Maharishi is the only person who equipped us to live in the family with wife, parents, children, community, our own job, occupation, everything. But at the same time, without compromising, you can have a wonderful, healthy, peaceful spiritual life. That is the beauty of our Maharishi, who helped us to keep the community also together and also at the same time maintaining an individual person's spiritual growth.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful explanation. Is there any doubt from this audience side?
வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க
Dr.
வளமுடன்.
Ananda and Lal Mohan, it's a wonderful discussion. So what Marco has given, that you have elaborated with the consciousness given by Samuji, really is a wonderful relation that you have given that. But here, I think we have to work a lot on this also, because in science, you can, when you say the different types of orbital numbers or quantum numbers, they can define even the orbital number. They say K level, L level, there are so many numbers there. The number of atoms they define by 2n square, where n will be that cell number. Here they have given a definite or idea about that. But when we come to the spirituality, even though we can define the same way, but we cannot give we are not in a position to give a definite a relation or a concept for each and everything when we account for the spirituality. I think the people like you who are scientific and also the spiritual approach, we can think of giving more details using Samuji's theory, how a man manipulates, how the thought arises, how he disturbs others, and what are the as like the how they use quantum numbers or other factors for defining the cell structure, and we can manipulate some theoretical modeling when the man gets disturbed. What are the factors which are coming there? You can give a formula, you can give frame some relation for that also. So in that way, because Samaji has given everything as pattern, presence, regularity for inanimate and cognition, experience, discrimination for animate thing. So in general idea, he has given that. But the scientists working there in the physics, chemistry, or in the mathematics, I think we can work more on that. We can link all the formulas or the ideas given in the science can be related to the spirituality with some modeling also. I think the Lal Mohan, you can add something more, and Ananda and also something more in that. வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you, Aya. வாழ்க வளமுடன், Aya. Can we conclude the session now, Aya?
முடிச்சிடலாம்ப்பா. ஏதாவது அவங்க ஏதாவது சொல்றாங்கன்னு பார்த்துட்டு முடிச்சுக்கலாம்ப்பா. இப்போ மார்க்கோவுக்கு லெஃப்ட் ஆயிட்டுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். இப்போ இவங்க ஆனந்தா சார், மார்க்கோ சார், இது லால்மோகன் சார், இப்போ அவங்க ஏதாவது ஐடியா இருந்தால் சொல்லட்டும். தென் அதர்வைஸ் வி வில் கன்க்ளூட் தட்.
கன்க்ளூட் பண்ணலங்கய்யா. நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி இப்போ வந்து ஸ்பிரிச்சுவாலிட்டிலயும் வந்து நிறைய இப்போ ஃபார்முலா பேஸ்ட் ஸ்பிரிச்சுவாலிட்டி வந்துருச்சு. இதை வந்து நம்ம ரெண்டு வகையில எடுத்துக்கலாம். ஒன், why we have to bring formula to spirituality, why we have to believe that formula is the only correct way to explain the spirituality. That is one way. So that's why some of our own siddhas, they are not interested in scientific concept. They know that they are correct. They have achieved that enlightenment. They have seen that Marai Porul. So they are quite happy with that. And what they said to people is, I have seen this. I will explain to you the way you can also see this. Follow me. So that's how Valalar, Magrishi, or Vedantri Magrishi, and also even Ramana Magrishi, everybody followed that. But if we really want to combine, say for example, there is a very famous meeting like our Science and Spirituality Conference. It is known as Science and Non-Duality. So lot of scientific people will join there. I've mentioned about this meeting few times in the past. Those who are interested, you can just Google Science and Non-Duality in the YouTube. You will get hundreds of videos there. There, if you see the equation, instead of Einstein's E is equal to mc square, that E is replaced by ohm. Ohm is equal to mc square. So ohm is nothing but energy. They are just formulating ohm as energy. The another one nice formula which I come across is consciousness plus object equal to experience. So consciousness, what we are focusing during the meditation, is nothing but pure consciousness. There is nothing to think. Aduna on the samadhi stage. And the pure consciousness, if you get an object, like for example, pure consciousness, you are meditating. You are suddenly getting a thought. I need to make sure that நாளைக்கு வந்து இட்லி பண்றதுக்கு மாவுக்கு வந்து அரிசியும் உளுந்தும் ஊற வைக்கணும். அது வந்து is an object. So once you get something in the pure consciousness as an object, you will get an experience. Experience வந்து ஃபர்தரா எழுந்து போய் நம்ம வந்து இட்லி மாவுக்கு ஊற வைக்கிறோம், மறுநாள் இட்லி செய்யறோம், சாப்பிட்றோம், இதெல்லாம் எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் ஆயிடுது. ஸோ கான்சியஸ்னஸ் பிளஸ் ஆப்ஜெக்ட் இஸ் ஈக்குவல் டு எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ். ஸோ பிஃபோர் பிக் பேங், as per our own theory, before Big Bang there is only pure consciousness. So in Big Bang, multiple matter antimatter formed. Matter antimatter cancelled each other, but a small group of matter persisted as the Anu Tugal Paramanu. From there, we get all the elements and world, universe, everything happens. So once you get the object, then we get the experience. So consciousness plus object is equal to experience. So like that, we can create lots of equations for our spirituality also. But the question is why? Why we have to explain everything in English? So today we are speaking in English because Marco has only English as the language. So we are making this section as English-based discussion. But I'm very sure everybody in this group knows Tamil. So we can do wonderful job in our own language, with our own Magritte principle, with our own spirituality-based discussions. But if you want to attract people outside our remit, then try to publish it in English, try to make the conferences like our Science and Spirituality conference in English. But the problem is when you have Science and Spirituality conference fully based in English, we want people who don't know Tamil, who can't understand Tamil, to come inside and get our concepts in English. There is no point in conducting an English-based meeting when everybody in the hall can speak Tamil, isn't it? So there is no differences should be made with language or differences like he is a scientist, he is a spiritualist. A person can be a good scientist, a good spiritualist, a good knowledgeable person for both of the things, because end of the day, it's your life. It's up to you which train track you are taking, whether you are taking a pure consciousness way of life just by meditating and yoga practices, improving your health and helping others, or you want to go to this mundane world life of I am the body, I am the mind, I did that job, I did this one, I helped him, those kind of normal, routine, ordinary life. The choice is only ours. வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Invitation, sir, kindly unmute and speak. You can unmute and speak, sir. So your request has been given to you.
மேடம் அவரை அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க மேடம்.
Vijay,
வெங்கடேசன் நீங்க அன்மியூட் பண்ணி பேசலாமே வெங்கடேசன்?
அன்மியூட் ஆகலைங்க ஐயா அவருக்கு.
okay, Vijay.
நான் தான் பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன்.
பரவாயில்ல, அட்லீஸ்ட் அவங்க சாட்லயாச்சும் போடட்டும். சப்போஸ் இஸ் unable to unmute, you put the message in the chat.
சார் இப்போ அன்மியூட் பண்ணுங்க சார் வெங்கடேசன் சார்.
ஐயா சாதாரணமாவே அன்மியூட் ஆகுதுங்கய்யா.
அன்மியூட் ஆகுது.
அவருக்கு ஆகலைங்க ஐயா.
சரி, பரவாயில்ல சாந்தி, பரவாயில்லப்பா. There are no more discussion. I think you can conclude with vote of thanks.
Okay. Now, vote of thanks. I request PhD called Manasi to give the vote of thanks.
வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். I would like to convey my gratitude to our Guru, Almighty God, and our director, sir, and especially we convey our gratitude to the guest speaker, Marco sir, Dr. Anand sir, who shared a wonderful information with us. Thank you, sir. It's really very, very useful and wonderful for us. And we would like to convey our gratitude to the all guides and scholars who gathered here. Thank you once again, Marco sir and Anand sir. Thank you.
We also take this opportunity to thank our director, sir, and Dr. Lal Mohan, sir. Now, உலக நல வாழ்த்து. விஜய், சாங் ப்ளே பண்றீங்களாப்பா?
சரிங்க.
பகுத்துணர்வில் தொகுத்துணர்வு பண்பாட்டை உயர்த்தட்டும். உலகமெல்லாம் பருவமழை ஒத்தபடி பெய்யட்டும். கலகங்கள் போட்டி பகை கடந்து ஆட்சி நடக்கட்டும். கல்லாமை கடன் வறுமை களங்கங்கள் மறையட்டும். கலகங்கள் போட்டி பகை கடந்தாட்சி நடக்கட்டும். கல்லாமை கடன் வறுமை களங்கங்கள் மறையட்டும். நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய்ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும். நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய்ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும். நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும். 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 வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன் வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன் வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன் வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
Thank you all. Thank you for your participation.